Let me be real with you. The greatest battle you'll ever fight is not out there in the world. It's not with haters. It's not with doubters. It's with the voice inside your head. That voice that whispers, you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, you don't have what it takes. Lies, your vision determines your value. That simple truth can change your life if you let it. The way you see yourself sets the tone for how the world will treat you, for what you'll allow, for what you'll fight for, and what you'll walk away from. When your vision is small, your value feels small. When your vision is powerful, you show up different. You speak different. You move like you belong where greatness lives. Everything starts with what's in your mind. If you see yourself as ordinary, then guess what? You'll make ordinary decisions, take ordinary risks, and live an ordinary life. Not because that's who you are, but because that's what you believe. Too many people are out here living lives that don't belong to them, wearing shoes that don't fit, working jobs they hate, staying in environments that shrink them, all because they never took the time to look inside and truly see who they are and who they could be. And that's a tragedy. You can have all the talents in the world. You can be the smartest person in the room. But if you don't see value in yourself, if you don't see potential in your own reflection, then none of that matters. You'll self-sabotage. You'll settle. You'll hold back in rooms where you should be speaking up. Why? Because your inner vision is cloudy. And cloudy vision leads to small moves. Vision isn't about eyesight. It's about insight. It's about knowing there's more inside you and demanding more from you. Some of you keep praying for a breakthrough, but you haven't upgraded your vision. You asking for a new life with the same old mindset. You want people to respect you, but you don't respect yourself. You want big opportunities, but you're still thinking small. Let me tell you something. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you're prepared for. And preparation starts with perspective. You got to see yourself winning before you ever take a single step. If you can't visualize yourself succeeding, you won't survive the struggle it takes to get there. Your vision will either limit you or liberate you. You can look in the mirror and see a victim, or you can see a warrior. You can see your past, or you can see your purpose. You can see a quitter, or you can see a champion in the making. It's a choice every single day. Stop looking at your flaws and start looking at your fight. You've overcome too much to keep seeing yourself through the lens of doubt, fear, or failure. You've earned the right to believe in your own greatness. What you see in yourself teaches others how to treat you. You want to know why people overlook you? It's not always because they can't see you. Sometimes it's because you've been dimming your own light. You've been moving like your dreams are a side project instead of your purpose. You've been walking like a maybe when you're a must. Your value doesn't come from likes, from titles, from followers. It comes from your vision, how clearly you see your own worth. So take the limits off your vision. Stretch your mind. Dare to imagine the version of you that doesn't shrink back, doesn't apologize for wanting more, doesn't stop just because it gets hard. That version of you, that's the real you. And when you start seeing that, believing that, and living from that place, everything around you starts to shift. Because the world can't help but respect someone who respects themselves. Labels lie, identity comes from within. From the moment we're born, the world starts handing us labels. They come from parents, teachers, classmates, the media, even from moments of failure and pain. You're told you're too loud, too quiet, too emotional, too lazy, too slow, too broken. And after a while, you start believing it. Those labels stick like glue. And before you know it, you're not living your life, you're living the story that someone else wrote for you. But here's the truth. Labels are not facts. They're opinions. They're snapshots, not full pictures. And just because someone says something about you doesn't mean it's who you are. Too many people are walking around wearing names that don't belong to them, wearing shame that wasn't theirs to carry, wearing the weight of other people's fears, limitations, and expectations. And the longer you wear those labels, the harder it is to hear your own voice. The harder it is to know who you really are underneath all the noise. You see, identity doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the inside. It comes from doing the work of asking yourself, who am I really? When nobody's watching. Who do I want to become? Who was I before the world tried to tell me who I was? Identity is something you build, not something you're handed. It's not fixed. It's not defined by your past. It's defined by your choices, by your mindset, by your resilience, by what you choose to believe. Not just about the world, but about yourself. Someone might have called you a failure. That doesn't make you one. Someone might have said you never make it. that doesn't mean you won't. The real danger isn't what they said, it's when you start saying it to yourself. When their words become your inner dialogue. That's when the label becomes a prison. That's when you start playing small, hiding your gifts and settling for less than you deserve. Guess what? You have the power to peel those labels off. Every single one of them. You get to say, that's not who I am anymore. You get to rewrite the narrative. You get to decide your name, your direction, your purpose. Your past may have shaped you, but it doesn't own you. The world may try to define you, but it can't confine you. Not unless you let it. You don't need someone else to tell you your worth. You don't need validation to have value. You don't need permission to grow. The real you, the one with dreams, with hunger, with grit, has always been there. Maybe buried under fear, maybe silenced by rejection, but still there, still waiting to rise. Don't let people who don't know your journey try to name your identity. They weren't there when you cried yourself to sleep. They weren't there when you kept going after failing 10 times in a row. They weren't there when you showed up even when you didn't feel strong. You were there, and that means you get to say who you are. So stop chasing labels and start chasing truth. Start trusting your inner voice. The one that says you're more than your mistakes. The one that tells you you're capable of more. The one that whispers, even in the dark, you were made for something greater. That voice, that's your identity. Not the noise, not the judgment, not the doubt. You can't live beyond the image you carry. No matter how big your goals are, no matter how much talent you have, no matter how many people believe in you, if the image you hold of yourself is broken, limited, or small, that's exactly how you'll live. Because what's inside will always leak out. The way you see yourself becomes the boundaries of your life, not your environment, not your circumstances, not your upbringing, your image. You might think it's just a mindset issue, but it's deeper than that. It's identity. It's self-worth. It's the core belief you carry into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. If deep down you see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve success, doesn't deserve love, doesn't deserve respect, you'll start sabotaging anything that tries to give you those things. Not because you don't want it, but because it doesn't match the picture you have of yourself. Some of you keep running into the same walls, not because the world is against you, but because you keep building ceilings in your own mind. You want more, but you still see yourself as the last. You want to lead, but you still see yourself as a follower. You want to break generational patterns, but you still see yourself as a prisoner of your past. And as long as that's your image, you'll live beneath your potential. You got to stop carrying a broken mirror inside your head. Some of you are trying to build a new life while looking through a lens that only shows your mistakes, your failures, and your flaws. You're dragging around an old reflection that doesn't even match who you are today. You've grown, you've survived things others would have crumbled under. You've evolved, but if you don't update the image, you'll keep acting like the person you used to be instead of the person you become. You can't walk in power if you see yourself as powerless. You can't claim greatness if you still think you're average. It's not about faking it, it's about seeing the truth about yourself and finally accepting it. You are capable, you are worthy, you are chosen, but none of that matters if you don't believe it at your core. Your image becomes your actions. If you see yourself as confident, you speak up. If you see yourself as a leader, you take initiative. If you see yourself as a winner, you bounce back when life hits you. But if you see yourself as weak, you hesitate. If you see yourself as broken, you withdraw. If you see yourself as not enough, you overthink every step. It's not the world that limits you. It's the reflection you've agreed to believe in. Let me ask you this. When you close your eyes and think about yourself, what do you see? Do you see strength or insecurity? Do you see progress or failure? Do you see someone worth fighting for or someone who's always falling short? That image you carry, that's the foundation of your life. You'll never outperform it. You'll never rise above it. You'll never fully step into your potential until you change it. This isn't just about motivation. This is about identity reconstruction. You gotta tear down the lies you've been told, the ones you've been repeating to yourself for years. You gotta replace that old picture with a new one that reflects truth, one that reflects power, one that reflects who you're becoming, not just who you've been. Because the version of you wanna be, the one that thrives, that leads, that impacts, already exists. But you can't live that life until you see yourself as that person. You'll only walk into rooms your image gives you permission to enter. So build a new mirror, one that matches your potential, one that reflects your purpose, one that finally tells the truth about who you really are. Self-belief isn't a feeling, it's a discipline. That's where most people get it wrong. They wait for confidence to show up before they take action. They wait to feel ready, to feel strong, to feel like they belong. But here's the truth. Those feelings don't come first. Action comes first. Repetition comes first. Discipline comes first. Self-belief is built, not born. It's earned through consistency, not gifted through emotion. You don't just wake up one day with unshakable confidence. It comes from showing up again and again, especially on the days when you don't feel like it. Especially when everything inside you is screaming you're not enough. You want to believe in yourself, then prove to yourself that you can keep promises, not to other people, to yourself. That's where it starts. Self-belief is the byproduct of self-respect, and self-respect is built through discipline. You don't need to be the most talented. You don't need the most resources or the perfect background. You just need to show up when most people would quit. You need to train your mind like a muscle. Now that takes reps. It takes doing hard things when it's inconvenient. It takes speaking life over yourself even when your doubt is loud. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about committing to who you're becoming. Feelings are fleeting. Some days you'll feel powerful. Some days you'll feel broken. That's life. But discipline, that's something you can control. That's something you can choose. You can choose to do the work. You can choose to show up, even in fear. You can choose to move forward, even when the results aren't instant. That choice made over and over again is what forges belief. Think about the people you admire, the ones who walk with purpose, who speak with clarity, who move like they belong in every room. Do you think they always feel fearless? No, but they've trained their minds. They've trained their habits. They've trained their identity. They've learned to take the step before the confidence kicks in. Because that's the secret. Confidence follows commitment. You don't feel strong and then act strong. You act strong and that builds strength. Most people want shortcuts. They want affirmations without action. They want motivation without movement. But real self-belief doesn't come from reading quotes or watching a hype video. It comes from the moments when you could have quit but didn't. When you could have backed down but stood up. When you failed but still kept going. That's discipline. That's what builds a foundation no storm can shake. There's power in showing up daily, even when you're unseen. There's power in doing the reps in the dark long before the spotlight hits. Because every small win, every finished workout, every early morning, every uncomfortable conversation, that's another brick in the foundation of belief. It's not flashy, it's not sexy, but it's real. And it's the only way to build a belief that lasts. You're not going to feel like it every day. That's a fact, but you don't need to. What you need is a standard, a non-negotiable, a personal code that says this is who I am, whether I feel like it or not. When you live like that, you stop chasing feelings and start building results. You stop needing external validation and start trusting your own effort. That's the discipline of self-belief. Not waiting, not wishing, not hoping, training your thoughts, training your actions, training your responses. Over and over until belief is no longer something you need to chase. It becomes something you carry, something no one can take from you. Your reflection is built by repetition. You don't become confident overnight. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly believe you're strong, capable, or unstoppable. That image you see in the mirror, the one that either lifts you up or holds you back, it was shaped by your habit. It was shaped by what you kept doing, what you kept saying, what you kept thinking. And whether you realize it or not, every day you are building your reflection brick by brick, action by action. The problem is, too many people want a different life, but they're not willing to change what they repeat. They want to see a confident, powerful version of themselves, but they keep repeating thoughts of fear. They keep repeating patterns of procrastination. They keep showing up in the same way, expecting a new outcome. But the mirror doesn't lie. It reflects back the work you put in or the excuses you've made. If all you repeat is doubt, that's what you'll see. If all you repeat is hesitation, that's what you'll become. You can't talk your way into a new identity without walking the path that builds it. Your actions must match your aspirations. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, every time you play small, every time you quit early, that gets stored. That builds your reflection. You are literally training your brain to believe you are someone who backs down. And over time, that reflection gets harder to change, not because you're stuck, but because you've repeated the wrong things for so long. But here's the good news. The same way repetition can build insecurity, it can also build unshakable confidence. It can build belief. It can build character. You can rewire that reflection. You can train your mind to see something new. But it starts with what you do every day. The reps matter. The reps in the dark. The reps when nobody is watching. The reps when you feel like giving up. Every one of them is shaping your identity. You got to stop focusing on motivation and start focusing on momentum. You're not always going to feel like showing up. That's reality. But if you keep showing up anyway, your reflection begins to change. You start seeing someone who's consistent, someone who's disciplined, someone who's relentless. In that image, that's what fuels real growth. Because now you're not depending on a feeling, you're depending on your own evidence. Confidence isn't built by shouting affirmations in the mirror once a week. It's built by doing the hard things over and over until you become the kind of person who doesn't back down. Repetition is the proof you give yourself. It's how you remind your soul, this is who I am now. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. One rep at a time, one choice at a time. You keep stacking wins, keep stacking effort. And eventually the mirror has no choice but to reflect someone new. This is why habits matter. Not because they're trendy, but because they are the blueprint of who you become. The reflection you want won't just show up. You have to build it, you have to earn it, and that means being intentional with your time, your choices, your environment, everything you repeat, from the way you start your mornings to the way you talk to yourself when no one's around, it all adds up. It's all carving out your identity, moment by moment. So if you want to change what you see, you got to change what you do. No more waiting for motivation. No more letting old habits define a new season. Show up with discipline, show up with intention. Because repetition is not just about practice, it's about transformation. The reflection you want, it's not a dream. It's just a few more reps away. The enemy is not the world, it's your inner narrative. The world can throw obstacles your way. People can doubt you. Circumstances can test you. But none of that has as much power over your life as the story you tell yourself every single day. That inner voice, the one narrating your work, your limits, your identity, is the real battlefield. Because if that voice is filled with fear, shame, insecurity, or defeat, you will sabotage every opportunity that comes your way, even if the whole world is cheering for you. Most people think the world is against them. They point to their boss, their parents, the economy, or the system. And yes, those things matter. But the biggest walls are rarely on the outside. They're internal, invisible, built by years of negative self-talk, broken confidence, and unhealed wounds. That's the voice that whispers, you're not good enough. The one that says you always mess it up. The one that makes you shrink in rooms where you were built to lead. And if you don't challenge that voice, it will quietly destroy your potential. You can have all the resources, all the support, all the strategy, but if your narrative is rooted in fear, you'll find a way to fail. Not because you can't win, but because deep down you don't believe you deserve to. You'll hesitate instead of take the shot. You'll overthink instead of act. You'll talk yourself out of the very things you were meant to pursue. That voice is powerful. But here's the truth. It's not a reflection of reality. It's a reflection of repetition. You've heard it so many times, you've mistaken it for truth. That voice was shaped by pain, not purpose. It was shaped by moments where you were overlooked, misunderstood, judged, or rejected. And over time, those moments became your script. You stopped writing your own story and started memorizing the one that pain gave you. But pain doesn't get the final word, not unless you let it. You can rewrite that narrative. You can replace that voice. But it takes work. It takes awareness. And most of all, it takes courage to tell yourself a different story. That new story doesn't come from the outside. No amount of compliments, applause, or success will fix a broken narrative unless you take control of the voice inside. It has to come from you. You got to become the author again. You got to speak life when doubt shows up. You got to remind yourself of your growth when your mind wants to bring up your failures. You got to fight back with truth, not feelings, not fear. Truth. The truth is, you survived more than you realize. You've overcome things that would have crushed other people. You got strength in you that you haven't even tapped into yet. But the narrative in your head keeps looping the lowest version of your story. You got to break that loop. You got to start rehearsing victory instead of defeat. Speaking purpose instead of pain. Because the world isn't stopping you. Your story is. Don't wait for the world to see your words, see it yourself. Speak it, live like it's true, even before it feels true. Because once that inner voice shifts, everything changes. You show up different. You lead different. You try again, not because it's easy, but because now you believe it's possible. That belief, that new narrative, that's what separates the average from the unstoppable. So stop fighting the world and start challenging the voice in your head. Stop rehearsing limitations and start scripting possibilities. Because at the end of the day, it's not the world that holds you back, it's the story you believe for too long. Change the story and you'll change your life. So here's the truth. Everything you're searching for, everything you're trying to become, everything you've been chasing outside of you, it starts within. Not with applause, not with approval, not with a perfect plan. It starts with how you see yourself. Because you'll never live beyond your reflection. You'll never outrun your inner voice. And you'll never rise above the story you keep telling yourself every day. This is not about motivation. This is about transformation. It's about changing the narrative, shifting the image, disciplining your belief, and repeating truth until it becomes your new identity. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You need to decide to believe different, decide to act different, decide to see yourself different, because the world will only reflect back what you reflect from within. The enemy isn't out there, it's the inner script that says you're not enough. Tear it up, rewrite it, because once you change how you see yourself, you change how you move, how you speak, how you lead, and how you live. Don't just carry potential, walk in it, own it, live it, because greatness was never out of reach. It was just waiting for you to see it in yourself first.